As a geek with a life outside of gaming, it can be hard to stay informed. The Sometimes Geek podcast is your weekly update of all the major video game news, brought to you with the insight of an everyday gamer. Episodes are kept short and to the point, so you have more time to spend playing games instead of reading about them. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and at sometimesgeek.com. The Sometimes Geek podcast, because we can't be geeks all the time.
Hi there, this is John from Pint Comics.
This is the other John from Pint Comics.
And we just wanted to warn you before you tune into our quite excellent show that we may or may not use, what type of term would you use for language, John?
Swearing with flair.
Swearing with flair.
Colorful language.
Colorful language.
Or just plain out, I don't know.
Gutter talk.
Gutter talk, there we go.
You've been warned. Listen in.
Welcome to the Pint Movie Invitational Series.
The only idea more overused than serial killers is multiple personality. On top of that, you explore the notion that cop and criminal are really two aspects of the same person. See every cop movie ever made for other examples of this. Mom called it psychologically taught. The other thing is, there's no way to write this. Did you consider that? I mean, how could you have somebody held prisoner in a basement and working in a police station at the same time? Trick photography. Okay, that's not what I'm asking. Listen closely. What I'm asking is, in the reality of this movie, where there's only one character, right? Okay? How could you... What exactly would... I agree with Mom. Very taut. Sybil meets, I don't know, Dress to Kill. Cool. I really like Dress to Kill. Until the third act denouement. That's not how it's pronounced.
Well, thank you very much to Mr. Andrew Morgan, the official voice of the Pint Movie Invitational Series. That's right. You maybe didn't know that, Jerry. Jerry's sitting here with us. Jerry Morgan, brother of Andrew, is tonight's guest on yet another special edition of Pint Comics. Sir John across the table from me. I am not Sir John. Hi. I'm the other John. And as we said, we've got Jerry Morgan here. Jerry, what's going on, man?
Just killing it.
Just killing it?
Yeah, just killing it. Rolling deep.
Rolling deep?
I mean? Yeah.
Nice.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this awesome episode of love
Stop
and
looking at me.
appreciation.
Stop looking at me.
All right. So if you guys don't know, before we get too far into this, Pint Movie Invitational, we invite a friend of ours from the show onto the show to talk all about a specific movie.
Also, we're all dressed in our golf gear.
Yes, and we're all wearing
Pinto Comics invitation movie
that's
invitational.
Right. I've got my what are those baggy pants called?
Baggy pants.
The big, the ones with the socks go in, and it's like,
oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know it's what they dip it in Argyle socks, right?
Yeah,
they tuck it in. I don't know what they're called.
I can picture the Three Stooges wearing them right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And whatever that hat is with the little bean on top.
Yes, the little pom pom.
The puff.
We invite a friend of the show, Jerry being the friend tonight.
We also have children carrying our bags. Get my drift?
Yes. Yeah. Jerry picks a movie, we watch the movie, and then we discuss the movie.
Caddyshack.
No, this episode is not about Caddyshack, that's for sure.
No.
I wish it was.
It's a great movie.
You're so angry at this one. Jerry, what we do when we start off this episode is we let the person who we invited on tell the folks out there exactly what movie you picked.
Okay. The movie is 2003's? Two. Yeah, because it was the 2003 Oscars that I looked up. Adaptation, that was written by Charlie Kaufman. I believe Spike Jonze directed it.
Yes.
And it stars Nicolas Cage, Meryl Streep, Chris Cooper, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
We're going to get into that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. We'll discuss all that.
Oh, okay.
Spike Jonze with the Jonze.
That's right.
Just so everyone doesn't Mix him up with the 50s musician.
The
That's right.
50s,
That's right.
The Weird Al Yankovic of the 50s. So before we get too far into this, why did you pick this movie?
It's the backstory of the movie, not the movie so much itself. You can have your opinions on the actual movie, but I liked the layering of truth in it. In the actual, there's real life in it. I don't know. Do we dive right into spoilers?
Well, we're not going to get spoilers just yet. I
Okay.
just wanted to get an idea of what the attachment to this movie was for you.
Can I just ask which part of the backstory? Because there's like 9.
Well, that's
gonna get
that's
into
part
that.
of it
We're gonna
to me.
get into that.
Well, that's part of it to me. Like,
Is it the Kaufman stuff or is it the Orchid stuff?
It's more the Kaufman
Okay.
stuff, and the uniqueness of the twin aspect of things. No. Well, I'll get into that. But for those who like South Park, the bigger, longer, uncut movie, that was essentially South Park using Trey and Matt using South Park as a vehicle for what they were going through in terms of censorship and different things like that. Everybody forgets that, they talk about The Simpsons came out and oh God, there's a bunch of kids with don't have a cowman shirt and what's going on here? I mean, really, do you remember that growing up? Like,
very much so.
Yeah, people were very much in that PMRC,
What was,
Tipper Gore.
Tipper Gore, yeah.
Gore.
that's-
Bullshit.
Dee Snider and Frank Zappa fighting her in Capitol
And
Hill.
and people forget the third.
Right?
No,
not
John
just-
Denver.
Yes,
Denver.
John Denver.
That's right,
Yes,
John
who died fighting for our non-censorship.
Actually,
Dying on an experimental plane.
I do want to point out he was I think under the influence flying a plane when he died. So I don't know if that was necessarily it, but
he was headed to Washington.
was he really?
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
That's not why the plane went down.
He was under the influence.
That's not why the plane went down.
Well, what happened?
It was an experimental plane that fell apart in the air.
That's even more
that'll
terrifying.
do it. Yeah.
It was a kit plane.
So with the South Park thing, they use that as their vehicle. So when you go back and watch that South Park movie, you'll see, Terrence and Phillip are essentially Matt and Trey, because they were the ones doing these dick and fart jokes that were making everybody so mad and driving everybody so crazy, and the kids and the this and the that. Well, that's because South Park took the Simpsons outrage to another level, and then they put it in their first feature film of the show. And so it's this multi-layered thing of not just social commentary, but also it's this version of the microcosm, which was their world and what they were dealing with. So in that same way, I respect and like this one.
Okay,
and we'll get into
So before we start getting really too deep into the movie, do you want now? This is not. We're going to talk about the obvious bigness of the story of the movie, the layers. But if someone said to you very simply, "What is this movie about?" What is this movie about?
Bigness.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's about a guy struggling to reach outside himself.
It's about a guy, Charlie, a character named Charlie Kaufman.
Well, yeah.
He's a real person.
Trying to write
Yeah, he's trying to write a movie.
a screenplay.
Yeah.
Based on a book that many people are basically coming across and saying it's unadaptable.
Yes, because it's about flowers.
Because it's basically in the end about, about flowers. And there's a human element, but
but it's mostly about flowers.
Mostly about flowers.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else was saying it was unadaptable. It's just that Kaufman's character was saying it very...
Well, if there's truth in the movie,
Yeah.
he was reading a New York Times review of the book, and it said that it was meandering at the end.
Oh, when he
and
reads
that
the
there
interview, he actually reads that review at some point
in the movie. Yeah. So again, if it's true,
Well,
because
how
we don't
much of
know
it is true and
exactly.
how much
Yeah.
isn't,
So whether that's just him musing or not, I bet if you go back to the New York Times, though, I bet they did say, the latter half of the movie is
You
her
can find
just
it.
meandering and all that.
Right.
So if that's true,
Well, when you get right down to brass tacks, I mean, it's an article that was expanded to a book,
and probably shouldn't have been.
which happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then of course
Go to Barnes and Noble.
some executive in Hollywood decides to buy the rights to the book prior to it being written.
Right.
Yes.
Which happens all the time.
All the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is what you get.
Yeah.
Is this fucking movie that I had to sit through another 2 hours of?
Well, let's be fair though. He had the book at least by the time.
Well, yeah, he
got
did,
to it.
yeah.
I'm just saying, at least it wasn't him just staring at an article going, "Well, this is 3 pages." What am I?
All right.
That would have had me pulling my hair out to look like Charlie Kaufman.
let me cover a few of the basic things about this movie right off the bat. Adaptation. It was released, limited release on December 6th, 2002. Its wide release was February 14th of 2003. It was made for $19 million. Mm-hmm. So $19 million. John, yes or no? Did you think it made its money back or no?
If I recall correctly, it did.
Jerry, what do you think?
I think you're bringing it up because it didn't.
It did. It
did?
barely did. It grossed $22.4 million.
Oh, that's not making its money back.
Well, it made not its money back, but budget.
The cost
did
of
it
the
go
movie,
over
yeah.
its budget?
Making the budget is one thing. But.
So it made it by about $5 million. Let's say $4.2
which is probably a loss depending on the.
It's definitely a loss.
Yeah. Well, for a Nicolas Cage movie, it probably at that time was probably considered a big swing and a miss because remember.
Well, even Charlie Kaufman too, depending on.
Yeah.
I think this came right after Being John Malkovich,
which is part of the reason that they slapped that at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so the director of the film is Spike Jonze, again, Jonze, who's probably best known. He's one of the co-creators of Jackass. Mm-hmm. He has been an actor. He was in Three Kings. He's very well known. He was a music video director. He made the Buddy Holly video for Weezer, which is a very famous video. Praise You by Fatboy Slim. What was the other one by Fatboy Slim where Christopher Walken's floating through the...
I can't remember
He
the
did
name
that
of it,
one
but
too.
yeah,
Is that Weapon of Choice, I think that one's called.
I think
So you're saying he's a music video director?
He a lot of these guys are. He was.
Yeah, he started
but,
that
But
way.
see, I think with Spike Jonze is I know that there are a lot of guys that come from that school. This guy has some pretty creative music
He's not
videos.
Mick G.
Yeah, exactly. He's not Mick G.
Is he not Russell Mulcahy?
He did the Sabotage by Beastie Boys video. And then he did one other video that I don't remember. I was trying to look this up and I don't remember the band name.
Just state it.
But it's pretty popular. It's the guy, it's like a one pan shot and it's a guy on fire running down a street.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I don't remember the name of that band, and I don't remember the name of the song. Yeah. But that was kind of his first breakthrough. He ended up eventually...
Hoobastank.
It was not Hoobastank. Worst band name ever. He eventually ended up making, before Adaptation, he made Being John Malkovich, which I'm going to go on record and say, I saw Being John Malkovich one time. That was enough for me. I was not a huge fan of that movie. I love Cusack. I love Malkovich. Cameron Diaz, I have no problem with. I just really wasn't into that movie. And then his other kind of larger film that he did, which I own the Blu-ray. It's much like some of these other ones. I've never watched it, is Where the Wild Things Are. Mm-hmm. The 2006 or 7 adaptation. With,
and he did Her as well.
Which I've never seen as well.
Her is...
Joaquin Phoenix
falls in love with the
that's
computer.
Enough. Move on before I get mad.
We're gonna move on. So Charlie Kaufman, who wrote the screenplay, and who's also the main character of the movie.
Yes.
He wrote Eternal Sunshine, so that's of the Spotless Mind. So that was one that we're going to be doing with Chris Frodell.
I've got to swallow all this Charlie Kaufman suddenly.
You talked about how much you love Eternal Sunshine.
I think love is the wrong word, but
oh God,
we'll get to that when we watch that movie.
He also he did not Eternal Sunshine and Adaptation are, well, technically Adaptation is an adaptation.
Right.
But he, being John Malkovich, he wrote the story and screenplay.
Yes.
He wrote the screenplay for Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which was the George Clooney movie about Chuck Barris, which was actually pretty cool. Go back to his TV credits. This is crazy. This is a guy who I think a lot of people think of as this like really like brainy,
out there
writer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on TV, he worked for Ned and Stacy.
Yes.
Which was the Thomas Hayden Church, Deborah Messing show from the mid-90s.
I think that was his first one after Wings, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah. That was after
right.
that was after he left Wings.
After Wings, but before that wine movie.
Sideways.
Sideways. Yeah.
I have no recollection of this show at all.
Yeah. I think a couple years. I think it was a couple years and out.
Yeah.
It was before
Sitcoms.
what was Messing's Will and Grace.
Yes.
So it was like right before that.
Yeah.
He also wrote for the Dana Carvey show, which was the one season.
Wow.
Which is crazy because that had a lot of talent on that show. Steve Carell was in it.
I think Louis
C.K., Dana Carvey, obviously. Stephen Colbert.
Yes.
I actually watched. There was a pretty good documentary on Amazon Prime or Hulu about that show, about how it was like a 1 year.
Better than the show.
Yeah, better than the show. But how it was a 1 year breeding ground for all of this talent.
Yeah, I mean, that's how that happens a lot of times.
There's a crossover between the Dana Carvey show and Conan. If you look at sort of the Conan early years, a lot of the same guys. Some ended up being Daily Show people. Some it was like I think it was Louis Bob Odenkirk. No, I don't know if it was Bob Odenkirk, but there was Louis has a commonality with both those shows. And then if you look at kind of the roster of early year writers and stuff, there's a lot of crossover.
Right.
You know, so the breeding ground seems to be around that kind of era / those couple shows.
I remember the Dana Carvey show because it aired after another show that I really dug on ABC at that time called Muppets Tonight. And I remember, I don't know if they were the same night or if they eventually put them on the same night. But the first episode of the Dana Carvey show, the first sketch was Bill Clinton lactating and feeding all these cats. And as Dana Carvey said,
"What a pussy hound!" Am I right? Am I right, everybody?
This would have worked on Saturday Night Live at 11:30.
Sure, yeah.
And at 8:00 on like a Wednesday night.
Prime time.
They had so many complaints. I'm not going to get too far into it, but if you want to check out the documentary about the Dana Carvey show. It's actually pretty good.
I watched all the Muppets Tonight, but I don't remember Dana Carvey being after it.
I could be wrong.
But again,
it was the same season, though. It was
just remember this, too. Dana Carvey, any kind of show like he would have been doing at the time, would have had no interest to me whatsoever. So I would have been off watching something else.
Is it because of that movie? Oh, no, I think that came out afterwards.
Which one?
The Man of International Man. What was it?
The Master of Disguise.
Master of Disguise. That's what it was. Yeah.
Where he played Pistachio Disguisey.
Yes, and he was a turtle.
Turtle.
Yeah.
I'm a turtle.
Turtle.
I'm a turtle.
Turtle.
I'm a turtle. Yeah, that was, what that was? That was right at the time that Austin Powers was super huge.
Yeah.
And Dana Carvey hated Mike Myers because Mike Myers, and they've admitted this now, Mike Myers, I don't want to say stole, but he utilized Dana Carvey's impression of Lorne Michaels as Dr. Evil.
Right.
$1 million, all that shit. And Dana Carvey fucking hated him. And at that point, he thought,
well, he could have at least hired him.
He could have. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, though. I mean, instead, if you're Dana Carvey, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm a good part of the reason why you're famous, for fuck's sake. Yes, Mike Myers had a number of characters on SNL that he was famous for, but Wayne's World was the breakout. They probably wrote a lot of that together, and then he goes on and does this Austin Powers thing, and to do an Eddie Murphy, so to speak, and have yourself be multiple characters as opposed to, hey, this is your fucking impression anyway. Right. Let's just have you in here. Yeah. Or at least say, look, man, this is what I'm going to do. And frankly, I want to break away from the Wayne's World thing a little bit. So I don't want to have you in the movie for that reason or something.
This is a subject.
Paying the money.
This is a subject.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I get double the money instead of spending it on you.
This is a subject I want to broach on another podcast at some point. It's the fact that as viewers of, viewers, readers, we always assume that people that do these kind of jobs like are friends and love each other.
No.
And then you got to remember that, I think I was reading somewhere like Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons fly to shows separately, almost never say a fucking word to each other, then get up on stage and love gun it, and then they fucking go their separate ways. I mean, and we romanticize shit like that. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey might have hated each other from day one, and we would never know. There's people I work with or I have worked with that I've hated from day one, but if you put me in a situation where I have to do something with them, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
but
get through the day.
If I leave and have something fun to do, I'm not going to say, hey, come along with me on this.
I think it also, it's also one of those things where, especially in the quote unquote in the arts, if you're like, let's say with a band, right? Let's go with say Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, because
they were
really
two marriages. Well, yeah, they hate each other, but it was also they were two marriages, and they're singing to each other about that. Yeah, but they were also fucking, coke fiends who were cheating on each other with each other's wives and, screwing each other over and
Stevie Nicks,
all this sort of stuff.
Doing coke in her asshole, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she actually had to get her
septum
redone. Because she snorted so much coke off her own asshole. That's why it wasn't the coke. It was
not even a picture I want to think.
It was the doo-doos. Or say Paul Simon and Simon and Garfunkel. No matter what you actually think about them, think about the way that they harmonize with each other, the sweet and melancholy nature of their songs. There's almost like this melding of the two of them. Right. It was almost like they weren't separate. And then, it's not like this rock band. Oh, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Yeah, fine. You want to think that they're friends. But the thing is, they're playing like, they're fucking around. I mean, you put, if they weren't Kiss as we know them, you put someone else, put fucking makeup on someone else.
They've already done that with two of them.
Well, exactly. Right.
Hey, Paul, I'm doing a movie.
Yeah,
It's a science fiction movie with Tom Selleck.
I'm taking 2 years off to film this movie.
We ride his mustache to the moon. It's amazing.
It's Tom Selleck's Blade Runner, I say. It's gonna be big, gonna be huge.
Tell Peter Criss to stop calling my house.
All right, let's get. We bounced out there for a little bit. Let's get back to.
Sorry about that.
No. Hey, that's what we're here for. As long as it's within the confines of the movie.
Sure it is.
So Charlie Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman
Makes total sense
is the
to me.
writer. This is the general idea of the movie. If you want to wrap your head around it, but very much like you said. Mm-hmm. It starts off with Nicolas Cage playing Charlie Kaufman.
Yes.
So he's playing a real person
Yes.
who has been hired to write an adaptation of a book called The Orchid Thief, written by Susan Orlean, who in real life is a real person,
Yes.
portrayed here by Meryl Streep, who took her articles in The New Yorker about another real person named John LaRoque, who was played by Chris Cooper.
Yes.
John LaRoque is a guy in Florida, a white trash, hillbilly kind of guy on the outside,
Yeah.
who has been stealing these plants, these orchids, out of swampland, along with Seminole Indians. And that's part of his whole thing.
He's almost like if you could mix a scientist or at least a horticulturalist or whatever with like William Burroughs or Tom Waits or something. You know, it's like, oh, I found you in a trash bin, but in that trash bin, you have rare orchids being bred. You know?
He truly, in my opinion,
I saw it, but
in my opinion, I know.
How did you see it?
Yeah, what did you think?
He's a hobbyist. He is your
He was the definition of a hobbyist.
armchair hobbyist with a lot of research done into it.
I think
but
he
he
has-
also loses interest very quickly.
I think he's one of these OCD or like on the autism spectrum types where they can get like sucked in. I actually related a lot. You know, it lasts longer for me, and I'm not as much like completely cut off. But given that, you know, I liked drawing at for a certain amount of time. Oh, I did stand up, for all these. Oh, I like, the podcasting now takes over. Oh, I was in a band for 10 years, traveling, blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot more accentuated in the movie. It's a lot more extreme, but I saw that and I went, oh yeah, okay. It's a guy who was probably, he lays it out there. He's an abused kid who had people go away from him, and so he probably falls completely obsessively in love with something and then casts it off before it could be ruined for him.
Right.
Well, there's all the damage that happens to him that you learn later in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So he's adapting a book written by Susan Orlean called The Orchid Thief, based on this guy John LaRoche.
Yes.
Real story. So basically, the story is him trying to adapt this book. He's having a hard time. He's not,
To say the least.
He's, at the very least, he's having a hard time. He has a twin brother who's living with him, also played by Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
This is Donald Kaufman. Now here's where we start to get into the weird part of the story. Is that Donald Kaufman? Now Charlie Kaufman is a real person. This movie is based on a real situation of him being hired to write. There's so many levels to this movie.
Yeah.
In terms of like where the story is kind of on top of each other.
Yes.
Donald Kaufman plays his twin, who is the exact opposite of Charlie Kaufman in a lot of ways. Charlie Kaufman is neurotic. He's they're both fat, sweaty guys, but he's super neurotic. He doesn't know. He doesn't,
super neurotic works better for me.
he doesn't know how to deal with women. He doesn't know how to deal with people. He's awkward.
He's insecure.
It was like like there was a period of time where like when the Office American version was out on TV and Curb Your Enthusiasm, where people started talking about awkward humor.
Yes.
Because you're like cringing when you watch Michael Scott do shit.
Right.
You're cringing when you watch Larry David do shit.
Yes.
And that was a little bit after this movie. And this movie was kind of a very good example of an early version of it. I mean, there's just the way he acts around people. You're just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, stop talking to this girl.
The opening scene, he's sweating so much
sweating
that
so
it's like
much.
beating on
Yeah.
his forehead, and it very much tells you, okay, A, this is not a normal Nicolas Cage movie,
Right.
And then B,
nothing to do with the hair.
well, yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you see the hair, you see,
he's got a white guy afro.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very
No,
thinning.
that's a Jufro.
I was just
is
a
what it
Jufro.
is.
I was trying to go a little bit more PC.
a thinning
Fuck the
Jufro.
PC. We're gonna tell you exactly what his name's Coffin, for Christ's sake. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is
oh,
Coffin.
sorry,
Okay.
for Jews' sake. Is that better for you?
All right, if we were going
You better believe that it was. Okay, sorry.
it's a Jufro.
Yes.
Okay, so
But he's also balding.
they bring his
It's a thinning Jufro.
yeah, it's a thinning
not-
Jufro. It's weird.
At different times in the movie, I keep looking at it and going, I don't know if it's really good or really bad.
It looks like plugs.
well, just the makeup
know?
itself,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like
I thought it was really good. I
don't
want to say
know.
one of the things I liked about this movie so much is particularly physically. I didn't feel like I was watching Nicolas Cage.
Oh, come on.
I really didn't. I felt like I'm going to come right out and say it. I like this movie. And I thought part of what I liked about it was the fact that, like, as opposed to, like, he's in The Rock or he's Ghost Rider, I still feel like I'm watching, even though he's a good actor.
Yeah.
When he really puts it on, I feel like I feel like I'm not watching Nicolas Cage. And I think part of it was also the makeup choices they had. I mean, they had him wear a frumpy suit, unless he gained weight. I don't know.
No, remember he was shirtless in one of the scenes, and he very much had a little bit of man boob.
Yeah, you're right.
Gut. So I think he actually gained the weight for it.
The one scene or the other scene where he's masturbating?
Well, he
masturbated a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
Well,
there was one, because there was one masturbating scene where I think
his brother walked in.
His brother walked in, and you saw his chest.
Yes.
But then there was another scene where he was, all you saw was his legs on the end of the bed,
flapping around,
and that was it. Yeah.
So he's got this brother Donald who, in real life,
sexy. By the way, sexiest man alive, right? Did
at
he
one
ever
point,
win that?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
At one point.
Got to see Judy Greer's tits. So,
I was gonna.
that at least gives it a 1 star for me.
I think that's funny because I'm going to get around to the
Yes, I
cast.
give it an A cup.
I think you're right on that. No, I think you're right on that.
Nic Cage had bigger tits in this movie. Sorry.
Oh, come on.
She had tiny tits. So there's nothing wrong with it.
No, there's no.
She was very cute.
I don't think she
and
was
they
that
were
small. She wasn't wearing a bra.
They were not.
No.
These were not big tits.
They're not Pam Anderson. No.
I don't know, man.
All right.
I mean, I'm 38, and I don't want to say how much I've gotten around, but that's a A, maybe a B minus or something.
Jerry, you can't see it, but Jerry's using his handometer.
Yes,
to figure.
I do have. I'm 6'5". I do have big hands. That's unfair. But
yeah, that's
Judy
about
Greer, you got a B minus.
yes, you have a B minus.
So they introduce
Bra.
the brother character of Donald.
Yes.
Who is the exact opposite of him. He's the same, except he actually acts on stuff. He's fat and sweaty but he is more of a extrovert.
Yes.
He was willing to talk to girls. He ends up having a pretty steady girlfriend in this movie, Maggie Gyllenhaal. He wants to become a screenwriter. He's one of the things I liked about it was that he had so much deference to his brother. He really cared about his brother's opinion, even though his brother treats him like shit.
Kind of hated him.
He kinda
resented
hates
him a
him,
little
resents
bit.
him or
Yeah.
something.
I think it's resentful, and it's there's a lot of animosity between being a twin brother like that, especially when one is so outgoing and can easily do things while the other one is not able to. So you're going to have a lot of that, and then you're the neurotic one with the successful career, and here's your twin brother trying to do the same thing and coming up with some of the worst fucking ideas.
And he's basically homeless were not for the fact that he let him live with him. And,
So while Charlie is writing the
and jobless.
While Charlie is writing the script of the Orchid Thief, which I guess becomes Adaptation in the end, Donald is writing a thriller called The Three. Which, as you hear it as the audience, he keeps telling
it's awful.
throughout
Little
the
pieces
little
of it,
pieces, and you keep on saying to yourself, this is the worst thing ever. They actually, I think I read somewhere that it was based partially on the movie Identity with John Cusack, because that central idea of everybody being in one person's body was an identity.
Right.
Even though Charlie Kaufman didn't write that.
Right.
So
Charlie Kaufman's like, how are they all one person?
The central conceit of Donald's script.
How do they eat themselves?
is a thriller.
Yes.
About a serial killer
My genre's
who also
thriller.
happens to be in the same body as the victim. So
and the cop?
And the cop.
Right.
And so every time he talks about this screenplay, Charlie Kaufman keeps on pointing out absurdities to it. And the funny part in the movie is when the screenplay gets done, he gets more and more frustrated to the point where when the screenplay finally gets done and Charlie Kaufman gives it to his agent, Ron Livingston. As a favor. Ron Livingston's agent character, who, by the way, his only line in the movie is, I think several times, how much he wants to fuck a girl
I fucked her in the ass.
Yeah.
And then the next scene,
I'd like to fuck her
I'd like to fuck her in the ass.
Hey, see that girl there? I fucked her in the ass.
So he gives the
Maybe
copy
you could
of
have
the
your
script.
brother help you finish it. Oof.
Yeah, he gives the copy of the script to his agent, and now his agent reads it and tells him it's the best thing he's read all year. Maybe you could have your brother help you out.
Two geniuses, my
Geniuses
goodness.
in the family. So Charlie eventually lets Donald help him because he's stuck. And as you're watching this movie, you're getting the Charlie stuff, which is is his point of view of him and how he's writing it. And then you dive into the actual story of the Orchid Thief, which is the Susan Orlean character by Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper as LaRoque, and what they're going through in terms of, this whole story of like how she's kind of like subtly like getting the hots for this guy. Because again, we talked about it, on the outside, he's this toothless hillbilly. And on the inside, I felt like, again, watching this movie, I feel like this is a layered character who actually is. Yeah, I've known people like that in my life. The cover and the book don't match up.
He's a broken man.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And, the other thing is, too, that I want to make note of, if you noticed, along the same lines of what Charlie kept saying were wrong or bad with Donald's ideas, became part of the movie.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, yeah.
And
probably a lot of my problem with this movie.
and as the movie let Donald be more influential onto the final product, that's where it started to go at the same time.
Well, when I
that's
think,
where the tits flopped out and everything. Ew, what are those?
I think I rented, I rented this on, I think, Amazon Prime, because I didn't own it, so I had to check it out before we did the show.
Yeah.
And I think under the description, I think it was drama/crime thriller.
Yes,
and
I
I
think
thought
that's right. Yeah.
I get an hour and 20 minutes into this movie, and I go,
Where's the crime?
"Where's the crime thriller?"
Yeah.
So
Other than Jim Beaver showing up and going, let me see what you've got in those sacks.
But there is a lot of humor to that, though. I mean, the movie is, yes, weird and layered, and sometimes I'll even admit up its own ass. But there's the Chris Cooper. Every fucking line he says, until he turns on the asshole. Really, it's funny as fuck. Like, yeah, he comes up and he says, "Hey, what's in the bags?" And he's like, he's not.
He's got it all laid
right.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, how's it going? All right, I need to talk to you." Okay.
yeah, we're right
I know,
here.
he's all ready to throw down with him.
Yeah, but he's like,
yeah?
"No, but so I need to talk to you. I'm right here."
Yeah.
But it's this awkward sort of who's on first almost situation, like who's going to blink and actually get down to brass tacks, but it's funny and it's
Right.
like, and he's just got these weird stories and even just this is why I like Chris Cooper. He has even these little parts to his acting that you don't even tell because he's just being natural, like when he's licking just the teeth that he has left, just little shit like that, and you're like, oh man, you really are this guy right now.
He was great. I've always liked him. He was great in this movie.
He was the most interesting character in the film.
Yeah.
I will give him that. Although as I was watching it, I'm watching the Meryl Streep parts and think, at least there's a pretty person here I can look at, because the rest of this film is just killing me. I see normal people every day. I mean,
The tiny parts, there were pretty people. Like, say, Maggie Gyllenhaal, I'm not really that hot for her.
she was cute in this.
But she was very cute in this movie.
I almost-
Judy Greer.
Well,
I think his British.
I think the British
love
girlfriend was
interest,
cute.
She was cute.
And I was pissed at him for not picking up the cues in the beginning.
Dude, yeah, but how about
I
that?
get it.
How about that funny part where he's like, "Oh man, I should have kissed her. I should.
I should go to the door.
I'm gonna go to that door
Yeah.
and I'm gonna kiss her. It'd be romantic. It'd be something we could tell our kids." Puts it in drives as he's talking.
Yeah,
puts it in his drives and drives away.
These are things that I've thought before, and these are reactions I've had before.
Yeah.
There's awkwardness out there. You're not sure what to do.
Yep.
So to kind of get to the end result of the story. So he brings Donald in. Donald helps him to start to write the story.
Yep.
Through plot machinations, they end up spying on Susan Orlean and realizing that she kind of
They follow her to Florida.
They spy on her and then follow her to Florida.
Yeah, they spy on her in New York and then
follow her to Florida. And this is where the movie just becomes something else.
Yeah, it's a whole
There's
other...
a car chase. Someone gets killed by an alligator.
Yep.
There's
a shooting.
There's a shooting.
Yep.
There is. I will give this.
people die.
People die.
People die. There's violence. There's drugs. Everything that he says in the beginning movie that he doesn't want to put in,
Right.
it happens.
It happens.
And by the way, I should mention one woman we haven't mentioned. Tilda Swinton plays the agent for the
I'm gonna
executive
go
for
through
whatever.
the whole cast
Okay,
list, but I did want to. Tilda Swinton. I just want to mention
Practically unrecognizable Tilda Swinton.
maybe one of the only times I've seen Tilda Swinton in a movie where I could recognize her as not only a woman but as a human being.
Wait, back up. Did you just say woman?
Yeah.
Woman.
Because
Woman.
Hey, look.
It's an accentuated woman.
Tilda Swinton is known for playing.
She is androgynous.
Not just even androgynous. She's
Not in
otherworldly almost. This is one of the few times I've seen her where I went,
Yeah.
The only other
She's
time,
dressed and acts like a complete woman, and she's good looking too.
the only other time I could throw out there, which was I'd say maybe dampered a little bit by her excessive sweating as the character in the movie, Michael Clayton. She was in, and
that's a great movie. I forgot about that.
It's a great movie.
That is a great movie,
and she very much played, boss lady.
You're right. I forgot
attorney.
I haven't thought about that movie. That is a really good movie.
Great movie.
George
and
Clooney.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And
Yeah.
Tom
Tom Wilkinson.
Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
I'm fond of pretty much anything that Clooney does. So.
Yeah. Clooney's
Yeah,
good.
practically speaking, he's done. I can only think of maybe like some half duds kind of thing, but it's not even really his fault. Like say Intolerable Cruelty. Why wouldn't you work with the Coen brothers again? Because you just did
Right.
Oh Brother, or I'm trying to think of something else that he. There was one more that did.
There was
kind
one
of
that
a miss, but
there was one that looks like a
the
miss to me.
Leatherheads that didn't really work.
That didn't work.
That didn't
but it was
work,
watchable.
but it was
Yeah,
watchable.
yeah. I'm not saying like,
And that could have been good.
It could have been really
Because
good.
it had a very like 1940s kind of zany,
There's a whole vibe to it,
slapsticky,
yeah.
like and John Krasinski, who I like anyway. The one that looks like, geez, I kind of want to watch this, but it looks like it could be a real miss. Is he plays an assassin? It's
The American.
The American.
It's a really
yeah.
good movie.
Is it good? Okay, I'm going to check it out then.
Yeah, it's really good.
it's pretty good.
I've watched it a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah. The Three Goats one or whatever.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Men Who Stare at
That's a
Goats.
lot
See
of
that.
fun.
It's zany.
I like it.
It's not as funny as it could. I think it's
No.
a good movie.
It's not meant to be like humorous.
If
the humor comes out of the story.
you were to compare it, I would say it has almost somewhat of a vibe of like Burn After Reading, where you're like, okay, there's some real weird shit where you're gonna laugh out loud. It's mostly amusing, and there's something just missing like that much for it not to be like okay, good, like yes, I'm going to tell everybody about it, and instead it's like, oh yeah, this is good, go rent it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not something to rush out and see.
Right.
George Clooney. There's a
I
George
preferred
Clooney
it to
movie.
Burn After Reading, actually.
It's been a while since I'd have to watch them again, but I'd say it's on par, if not.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. And honestly, when you get to the end of Men Who Stare at Goats, it's a short movie.
Flies by too, both of them. Yeah.
I wanted more, which that gives a step up for a lot of these movies. If I want more, and the story's already been told,
You want more adaptation, John? Because we got to talk more about adaptation. See how I turned that on you?
He just deflated.
I got plenty to say about it.
He was just like
Movie.
he was in George
Like,
Clooney
I
land.
remembered when I enjoyed things, and then just gone.
Thanks a lot.
Honestly, I kicked myself a little bit because I will admit, and I know we have to dive back into it. Once it got to the end, all right, there's parts of it where I was like, all right, this is some up its own ass artist kind of thing. Like when he comments in the movie, oh, that's a New Yorker thing. Like, yeah, the New Yorker,
Oh, right,
yes,
right,
the New Yorker, and he has that kind of attitude about it. I was watching the movie, and there were a few times where I was like, yes.
Oh, no,
like there was a little bit of that to me.
Every scene in New York with what's her name there?
Orlean?
Yeah, with her and
Meryl
her group of friends.
Oh,
the pretentiousness of a lot of this. There's a pretentiousness in Hollywood. There's a pretentiousness there in New York.
Yeah.
There's a pretentiousness that Kaufman has to deal with wherever he goes.
Yeah.
Partly because of his own neuroses, but it's just
It's
there's so much of a facade with all these people, and they're all dislikable, and which is another thing I didn't
except
like
for
about
his
the movie.
agent. His agent was fucking hilarious.
Well, yeah,
The agent
she
just wants to fuck people
she's
off the ass.
vapid.
Huh? No.
Oh, no,
his
oh,
agent,
yeah,
the guy
Livingston.
from Office Space, Ron Livingston. He was,
his two scenes.
oh, yeah. No, for sure.
I know he's not a big star, but I'm always
I like
surprised
him.
when people just like that. You kind of again, like Judy Greer. That was the beginning of her career. Maggie Gyllenhaal had been around for a little while. Like when they just pop up in these like roles that anybody could have played.
Yeah, and
like
they just happen to be there, yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure for them, it's a chance to work with Spike Jonze or to be in a Charlie Kaufman movie.
Yeah.
Or,
Hey, do you want to be in a movie with Meryl Streep, Nicolas Cage? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm doing it.
I don't mind. I'm just always surprised when you get someone in that tiny of a like Maggie Gyllenhaal. Literally could have been anybody in that movie.
Oh,
because she served no purpose other than to be
There's like 4 lines.
the cute girlfriend.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the cute girlfriend, the cute bubbly girlfriend with 4 lines.
Which is way beyond what she normally does.
yes, I'm just it's such a chore sometimes. Is she?
I think it would be a chore to be bubbly like that around fat
Well, when
Daniel Kaufman.
but here's the thing.
Coffee cake head.
But here's what I mean to say. In
Zits on his
every other
back.
movie, practically, in every other movie, maybe besides like Secretary, I watch her,
yes.
and I just think, I'm like tired by looking at you. You know that person where it's like, oh, you just sap the life out of the room.
I think there's a. I can't remember
She
what
does that
website
for
it is,
me.
but there's somewhere I've read where whatever it is, it might be like a
She's
blog.
dreary. I get it.
They refer to her as the sad turtle.
Yes. Or do you remember the Family Guy episode where it's, again, one of the cutaways and the father comes up to Maggie and Jake and he just goes, "Aw, kids, aw." Oh, because they're arguing. Your movies are terrible. No, your movies don't sell. No, America doesn't like you or whatever. And then the father comes in and he goes, kids, you're both awful.
I do like Jake Gyllenhaal, but
and it's like I like movies from both of them, but I sat there going, yeah, all right, I get it.
He does. The older he gets, the longer his face gets too. It's just like
Yeah, he lost weight and it looks more sullen.
It's just-
I feel like he took the Nightcrawler role and just went, well, I got an Oscar for this or whatever. I mean, he didn't, but accolades.
that was a good movie. That was like a one timer, but that was a good movie.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll never watch that again.
You've seen it.
Yeah. I think you might have talked me into watching it.
I liked
When
it.
I watched it, I was
liked
like,
it.
Okay, that was Thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, what am I going to suggest you're going to like? Nothing. Hey, John.
I'm sure you
Just-
suggested something.
John,
Here's
John.
puppies eating cake and giving out free
John,
candy.
I know exactly what you do now.
What?
Suggest to him George Clooney movies. Don't,
Apparently,
that's
yeah.
it.
No, but you know what?
That'll
He'll
help.
find the one. He'll find the one.
Conan O'Brien. The Coen brothers movies. It seems like you at least haven't.
Well, it depends on the Coen brother movie. I mean,
Which? All right. What's the one you didn't like? So John can ask you to watch
I
it.
don't know. I don't. I honestly.
I didn't like the one with Tom Hanks.
Which one was that?
Oh yeah, where they were the thieves.
It's not the replacement.
Tom Hanks is like
Lady
Colonel
Killers.
Sanders.
Lady
Oh,
Killers.
Well, Lady
yeah.
Killers is a remake.
So was
True Grit.
True Grit, and I like that
Well,
one.
no, that was. Well,
It's not about comparing the two. I just liked it as its own thing.
I did too. I actually really enjoyed it. And what was nice is that because it's closer to the actual source material, it's a different movie completely.
Yeah.
Even though you can see the similarities between we just don't talk about adaptation at all. do we?
all right. Let's get back.
I
Joe.
just want to do my Jeff Bridges imitation from
good luck.
from True Grit because I love the one scene at the end where what does he say? Fill your hands, you son of a bitch!
Pretty much
good,
the
actually.
only thing you can understand him saying that.
Yeah,
movie.
I was
that's
gonna
a
say.
fucking great movie.
Great movie.
I also love the fact that
was definitely a good version,
Matt
yeah.
Damon's character's name is La Beef. Just love that.
Yeah.
La Beef.
Fantastic.
All right, so So the movie ends in the ensuing car chase / alligator death.
Night in the Swamp.
Night in the
and,
Swamp.
You
LaRoche and Donald Kaufman end up dead. Susan Orlean gets taken in by the police. Now, this is the part, obviously, that none of this actually happened in any way, shape, or form. This is
Right.
all Donald's influence into this. Donald ends up getting killed in a car accident, basically. I want to say this.
After getting shot.
After getting shot. He would have lived through the shooting. He did not live through the car accident. This movie has 2 car accidents in them, and they are both incredibly filmed.
and jarring.
And jarring. The first one is LaRoche's
Fucking
backstory,
brutal.
where he's backing a car out of a driveway. His mother and uncle are in the backseat, elderly. His wife is in the passenger seat, and they get T-boned. Mother and uncle die. The wife ends up in a coma and then lives and divorces him.
Yeah.
This is kind of part of his sullen, sad backstory.
where he loses
A
his
month
teeth.
later, yeah,
Yes.
how he loses his teeth. He has
And
no front teeth.
I think it's very telling that he never has
Right.
it replaced.
Yes.
Either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To kind of represent that hole that he never
Yeah.
got a
there's
hole
a-
in his
There's that
heart.
whole line in that dinner discussion in New York where like, why doesn't he ever fix his teeth? Why
Yeah.
does he want
Right.
to walk around like that? I'm like, oh, you people just kill me. I hate you people.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
sucked.
I know it.
They sucked. And then the second car
Which,
crash.
by the way, is an over accentuation of why she liked him in the first place.
Right,
why
right,
she fell
right.
for him. It's like, oh, here's some life. Here's
Right.
some.
Well, that gets her whole story. The Orlean character is that she's drawn to LaRoche because she lives a life of like this vapid bullshit.
Yeah.
And she in her life has never experienced passion of any kind. And as you said, he's a hobbyist. He's like the ultimate guy. I mean, whether it only lasts 6 months or what, there's the one great line. I should have wrote it down. I love when he said it.
Fuck fish.
Fuck fish. But it wasn't just fuck fish. She's talking to him about how when he was younger, he was into fish. And he said, I had 60 aquariums in my house.
Yep.
And then one day I woke up and I said, fuck fish. He goes, and I said, fuck fish Or what does he say? I go, matter of fact, I'm never going to step into the ocean again. That's how much fuck fish.
And I love the ocean.
Yeah, and I love the ocean.
And then there's that pause where they're driving and she's almost in shock and he just goes, fuck fish.
Fuck fish, yeah. So she's attracted to this guy because he feels more about things than she's ever seen. You know, and she doesn't have that in her life. She's married to a guy who I'm sure is a nice guy, but there's nothing there.
Right.
So you get to the end of the story. Donald ends up dying in the. I want to mention the other car crash real quick. A car hits a van. He gets ejected out of the fucking car.
Flown through the.
Again, for a non-action movie, whenever movies that are not action movies have really great like stunt sequences, I always take note. That was great. Because it didn't look like a dummy flying out of the window.
It really looked.
Maybe it was real. Who knows how they did it?
Sure.
But it was very well done.
It was.
I don't think it was Nicolas Cage.
Probably not.
No, but it could have been a person, you know.
If it was a Tom Cruise movie, though, it would have been him.
That's true.
That's true.
You know, or at least so far as they say.
Yeah. Launch me out of the passenger seat.
If he was playing twins, I don't know. You never.
That's right.
It's just tough. Yeah.
So what I liked about those is there is like there is an artistry to the movie, and whether it's, you know, either a little up its own ass, whatever, there's always a... No, I mean, really, you know, there
I
are
haven't said
parts...
that once.
There are parts where you can probably eye roll and go, all right, enough. But those parts are so... They're so well done because they... You know, there's this... in horror movies now, right?
Right.
There's the jump scare thing. It's always got to be a fucking jump scare, you know? And it's so fascinating to me that in these two parts, you don't really see them coming.
I saw the
Charlie and Don one a little bit more.
No, I saw when he was. I knew something tragic was going to happen to him, and just him backing up.
It came so quick, and it was so
it
brutal,
was still jarring,
and it was so
But I knew that was happening.
But to
I
me,
had a feeling, and I'm not saying I'm Mr. Psychic guy, but I'm like, this guy. They're going to have to explain how this guy's life got so fucked so fast. As soon as he's in the car backing up, I'm like, he's going to get T-boned.
Yeah.
Because I have seen that in other movies.
Right.
But it was just done so fucking well.
Done so well, and...
and then I just want to mention this, because this was bothersome. There's certain scenes in movies. After the accident, when he's getting taken away on the stretcher and he sees the bodies,
he says, "Who's dead?
Who's dead?" He keeps on saying, "Which one's dead?"
Yeah,
I was
and
crushed.
His teeth are out, his mouth's full of blood, and he's like,
"Which one is dead? Which one's dead?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah,
and again, this is a movie that. It's not a comedy.
Dude, if you watch the trailer, did you watch the trailer?
The trailer makes it seem like it's a...
It's like, Nicolas Cage when he's fat dancing up against Maggie Gyllenhaal at a party and all this. And there's like that, music in the background to make you think, oh, wow. And then it's like,
Christmas.
Not really. No. A lot of death and sadness and neurosis in this one.
Nicolas Cage plays fat twins.
But it's also still funny.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's a lot of humor in it. Yeah.
It's almost like I always felt that I always think that Kaufman movies are completely, like they don't know what to do with them. Like, just go back and watch the Eternal Sunshine trailers. It's Jim Carrey, first of all, and then second of all, it's,
the trailers
a Kaufman movie.
They don't explain it very well. No.
They don't, but there's the music in the background, and he's running onto the ice with Kate Winslet. And then they're dancing on the bed and they're shirtless for some reason, and there's this craziness, and there's these young hot girls, and there's Mark Ruffalo and fucking Elijah Wood, and
Ruffalo with his bad glasses.
Yeah. But it makes it look like, oh, here's party time, sort of weird movie.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of fucking tragedy in this thing.
There's a feature on Amazon Prime or whatever when I rented it. So I watched it yesterday. I started watching it Wednesday night and I finished it yesterday. But before I did that, you could watch the trailer.
Yeah.
Now, I had never seen Adaptation, but I'm aware of it.
Sure.
I think part of the reason why I never was interested in it was partially because I wasn't a huge fan of being John Malkovich. And as we were saying before about, like, it just seemed kind of hoity-toity, like bullshitty to me. Mm-hmm. Just the idea of the concept. Oh, the writer's writing himself into a... And I'm like,
which is one of my biggest problems with it.
I'm going to go watch Rambo 5. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm just on that level. But when I watched the trailer, I was very surprised at the kind of the depth of
what
some
it
of the stuff.
Being.
Yeah. Because, again, the trailer was, like you said, like fat Nicolas Cage dancing around, making the humping motion when he was going to have
even
sex
just
with
looking
Maggie
at him.
Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
You're like, oh, what the fuck? that's funny off the get.
Right.
Nicolas Cage from The Rock is, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, I don't remember the sequence of his movies, but that's kind of what led up to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, 1990, this is funny, and I as I was watching this, I kind of thought of this. 1997, we had Con Air.
Right.
This movie is like a Con Air reunion, because even though two of them are only in bit parts, you have Nicolas Cage, John Malkovich is in the beginning of this movie,
and
John Cusack is in this movie.
Yep.
So you get three of the. If Dave Chappelle was in it, it would have been like a perfect little.
Right.
What else came out in 1997, John?
Oh no, I've got the list right here.
What else came out the same month as
2000.
Con Air, John?
Oh, 1997 June would be Speed 2.
Electric
as us
Boogaloo.
fans call it, cruise control. All right, so let me go through the cast list real quick.
Sure.
We've already talked a lot about it, but just to get the roles out there and what we thought of them. Okay, so obviously we had Nicolas Cage plays Charlie and Donald Kaufman, the brothers. Nicolas Cage, as you may know from Con Air and Raising Arizona. I always say this, and I think the first episode we did this, we were talking about Kurt Russell, and I basically said, if you don't know what Kurt Russell's been in, go fuck yourself. Tilda Swinton plays Valerie Thomas. She's only in a couple scenes, but she's the film agent,
the studio executive
who purchased the rights to the Orchid Thief. She was in films, comic book films such as Constantine.
Sure.
Where she played a very ethereal angel character. Yet again, you don't know what the fuck she is.
That's right.
And in another role where you don't know what she is, she was in the film that I'm sure Jerry would call Dr. Stranjay Gupta.
Yes,
she was the ancient
Gupta.
She was the ancient one. Meryl
Caused
Streep.
all kinds of problems. That one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
Had a whole problem with China on that one. God, I forgot about that. Meryl. Oh yeah. Just today I read on Twitter Scott Derrickson, the guy who. Directed a few horror movies, and he did Doctor Strange. He lost his house in this whole California wildfire thing.
Oh god!
Yeah, a ton of people.
Are you sure they didn't just move it to Comertage?
It might be on another side. It's in what's
God damn it, Wong!
Yeah, really, it's Wong's fault.
Yes.
Meryl Streep played Susan Orlean.
Don't think I didn't get that. I'm letting you go.
You like that?
Meryl Streep. It looks like she hasn't aged in 20 years.
She hasn't. And there was one scene in this movie where, well, you got to remember, this movie's almost 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
This movie's 16 years old.
2003-ish, 2-3.
There was one scene where I'm almost thinking, and I can't remember the scene now, and I didn't write a note down on it, where I felt like she was doing an Elaine Bennis impersonation. Like, I don't know if either you caught that at one point, but just kind of
dancing?
She wasn't dancing. The way she was talking, I just went. She kind of seems like she's channeling Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Well, let's go back. I don't know how old she is in this movie, and I want to say this with all due deference to my inflexibility. Although I had a lot more when I was
toe foot, yeah, good for her.
She was cradling her foot like a baby against her shoulder, and I'm thinking to myself, "Are you 40-ish in this movie?
Probably 45 at least.
Yeah, 40-ish in this movie, and you're cradling your foot like a baby." And I'm going, I don't have that anymore.
Now the character's excuse was she was extremely high on orchid dust.
Yes, right.
But I guess you keep yourself in good shape.
You still have to do it unless it was someone else's foot.
Yeah.
So,
And again, Meryl Streep's been in a lot of things. I don't watch a lot of Meryl Streep movies because they're usually a certain type of movie that are just not, period romances and shit that I'm just not so
I like
super
when
into.
it's not a Meryl Streep movie, but she's in it.
Right. But what I was going to say was I actually thought in this movie...
What's that?
Are you the only person that like you bring this up like every third show?
Defending your life.
Albert Brooks.
Oh yeah,
I love that movie.
Yeah.
You apparently, I'm going to get you the Blu-ray or you don't have a Blu-ray player. I'm going to get you like a special edition
the
DVD.
4DK.
Yeah, the 4DK. Ultra. What I was going to say was I actually got excited for a very brief moment that we were going to see Meryl Streep titty in this movie.
Yeah, when
There's
she started,
that scene where
she wrote a couple different people, one in the fantasy and one not.
The fantasy scene particularly. Charlie Kaufman has multiple fantasies throughout the movie where he's masturbating. That's how we see Judy Greer's boobs. And there's one where he starts fantasizing about Susan
believes
Orlean.
that Susan
He's
Orlean's
actually,
there.
My favorite part is he's actually jerking off, looking at the thumbnail
picture
of
from
her
the
on
cover,
the back of her cover of her book. And he's conversing with it. And at one point, if you notice,
her picture changes.
She changes position while she's talking to him. It's in between, but he's jerking off to that. And I thought, are we going to see a 17-time Oscar winner titty in this movie?
We were close.
We did not.
I actually thought it would have been closer in the scene with Chris Cooper.
Yeah,
because he
was fully naked,
right? And she's doing the drugs in front of him, and it's like she turns around, starts riding. It's only a shirt or whatever, and you're like, all right. You're maybe even at least going to see ass crack. Maybe not titty.
Yeah.
but a butt crack something, and it's probably not even going to be her. It's going to be a woman with a wig on, or
a bad wig.
Yeah.
Are there outtakes at some point with Chris Cooper facing Nicolas Cage and his dick is hitting the side of Jason Segel, as he's flapping away. And
He might have had one of those things over it, but he was full dick in it there.
Yes, he was.
So obviously Meryl Streep. I tried
He gave her his Oscar.
I tried to put some ridiculous movies for her. She was in Silkwood.
No? All right.
She was in Silkwood and The River Wild. Do you remember The River Wild with Kevin Bacon? Chris Cooper, John LaRoque. He was in American Beauty. Yeah,
Famously,
yeah. He ends up, spoiler alert, killing the Kevin Spacey character for coming on to him in a sexual manner.
Which is actually close to what should have happened in real life.
Yeah, in real life. And the other thing I wanted to point out, and this is you just mentioned Jason Segel. That Chris Cooper was the bad guy in the 2011 The Muppets. He was Tex Richmond.
Oh God!
Oh yeah,
I love him.
Nice little bit of movie buff.
Movie buff there for you. And then just getting on to, I'm actually surprised John mentioned this because I just love this guy. He has like one line. Jim Beaver. Plays Ranger Tony. Jim Beaver, if you're a fan of the TV show Supernatural, he's been on it for years. He was in Breaking Bad. He was on Justified for a while. And this is a little known fact about him, he is considered the premier biographer of George Reeves.
He does a lot of the IMDb entries.
Yeah, and
he's one of 3 people, I think. He was one of 2 for a while. Now I think there's 3 principal people that do the IMDb entries.
He's a great actor.
Just watch Deadwood.
Ooh.
Oh, he's in that as well?
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Cool.
That's right.
Another show I was
Have you
telling
ever
you
seen
about shows.
Supernatural ever?
No.
I figured it might have crossed your path at some point. Okay, he's been on that for it's like 14 years. He's not like a main character, but he's in every season.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yes.
He was so in Breaking Bad he only showed up a few times. He was the guy that would supply. He ended up supplying Walt with the giant gun at the end in the last season.
Oh, yeah,
he was like an
yeah.
arms dealer that like showed up 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And he's actually been on Better Call Saul a couple times too, playing the same character. Not someone that you'd remember necessarily, but you might if you go, okay, I remember.
No,
that
I get
guy.
what you're saying. Yeah, I can hearken back to that.
Yeah,
I like Jim Beaver.
he's great. He's
Who doesn't like Beaver?
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
Just had mine stuffed.
Curtis Hanson played. There's no character name. Orlean's husband. This guy you might not know
with
from
the clown hair.
Yeah, well,
The true Jew fro.
It's just ugly.
And this guy,
it looks like a wig.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a tight Brillo pad.
well, I'm gonna make you feel bad for a second. He died a couple years ago.
Oh no,
I don't feel bad at all.
He was not an actor. He must have been friendly with Jones or someone. He's a director. He made LA Confidential. He made 8 Mile with Eminem. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the story about how he got in it. He's not like a
Little
regular
known fact about him.
Yeah.
He actually wrote the song 8 Mile.
Oh, did he really? Mom Spaghetti?
He rapped it out first, and Eminem was like, "All right, I'm into this movie now."
No, this sounds dope.
Yeah, it sounds dope.
I'm gonna battle Papa Doc.
Yeah, yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal played Caroline. She was in The Dark Knight and in one of John's favorite movies, Stranger Than Fiction.
yes,
She's
I like
also
that movie
I
too.
love that.
she's also sister to Jake Gyllenhaal.
Shove that under the couch.
Judy Greer played Alice, whose tits we saw, and we debated earlier what size
What
they were.
size are Judy Greer?
You may know her from. She's been in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She was in Jurassic World, and I want to point out that she was a recurring character in Arrested Development, where the running joke is that you never see her tits.
That's right.
She always pulls her shirt up and says, "Say goodbye to these," and then they always blank her tits out. So if you want to see her tits,
Do you think it's, by the way,
she's been topless in other movies before.
probably.
Yeah, I think
he has a catalog?
MrSkin.com.
That's right.
I'm trying to remember if she was topless in Jawbreaker or not, but
I never saw Jawbreaker.
oh, shame on you.
Oof.
I'm trying to remember. That was the one with Rose McGowan in them, right?
And what's her name with the big hair there?
Yeah, I can't remember who else.
Yeah.
I had such an infatuation with Rose McGowan for a while. That's all I remember. Yeah.
Rose McGowan.
It's a very strange little movie. It's like
It is.
It's
They
like
kill one of their friends
yeah.
with a jawbreaker,
Yeah.
and then hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that. It was kind of like the Glamour Girls and
They took one.
It was like
took
Clueless meets Heathers.
Yes,
almost.
exactly.
and the one girl
Yeah.
they took was I do remember bits and pieces of it. The girl who played Dexter's wife, Julie Benz, I think. She was in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a
and-
while.
Yeah.
I
I can't
agree
remember,
with you on your Rose McGowan thing. I had a Scream when she had the red hair around that era.
Dude, I'll go beyond that. I will go to Planet Terror,
Terror.
where
Planet
she's got
Terror might
a
be
gun
where-
for a leg, and I'm like, I'm pulsating myself. You know,
Cybernetics are getting hot.
I was never a watcher of Charmed, but I used to laugh, and I'm like, you were obviously because you're kind of
No,
laughing
my
it
buddy.
off. Oh, okay.
I used to bust my friends' balls all the time because we were both in these sort of all hardcore punk bands, right? And we end up having jobs at Toys R Us together. That's first. And then second, it was, what was it, say Wednesday night, right? Or something like that. It'd be that one night of the week, he wouldn't give a fuck about staying a little bit late any other day or like hang out and, after work and talk about XYZ. On that day,
he had to be home.
he was
CW.
taking his fucking uniform off while we were still in the back room. And I'm like, dude, what are you? And I didn't know. And finally, I think someone he'd been working with for a while, I just started working with him, and we kind of had like, you have your friendships, but that was like I didn't have that piece.
Right, you weren't there yet, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were just
No,
not
you just didn't know it
that
yet.
little
Yeah.
piece. Yeah. And so, which is what made it so strange. You know someone to the point where like, they'll answer the phone while they're taking a shit while they're talking to you, but you don't know they have that.
Right.
It's like their dirty little secret.
I gotta be
what I mean?
home to listen to Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah, well, that would have been even more. Like I would have gotten that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, and it was Charmed, and I went, oh, you fucker, you don't.
I gotta be honest.
I'm like, you don't even care about the story, do you? Tell me you don't care about
I
the
never
story. He
watched
goes,
it.
no, I do.
I watched 7
Rose
Heavens for the
McGowan
stories.
and Alyssa Milano on it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's pretty good. It's
quality.
And if you're still friends with him, let him know in case he doesn't know.
Yeah.
They've just rebooted. I guess it's about 3
know.
Latina sisters now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So just in case he didn't know, let's throw that out to him.
Okay.
All right. Who else do
All
we
that
have?
from Judy Greer, who because you don't watch it, but she's one of the main characters on Archer.
Is she the crazy drunk secretary girl, or is she the
It's,
fat woman?
No, she's the Carol, not Carol. What?
Right.
She's Cheryl Tunt.
Yes. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a good character. I like that show.
Ron Livingston.
She's got a brother named Cecil Tunt.
Ron Livingston played Marty the agent who is obsessed with fucking girls up the ass.
Yep.
He was in Office Space and he was in Band of Brothers. And he was also in Swingers with John Favreau and Vince Vaughn pre kind of heavy Vince Vaughn. It's weird seeing Swingers now and
pre booze money.
Yeah, like, wow, man. He was like a
or pre food money. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I don't
yeah,
know.
before he could eat. We didn't mention
Graham.
him. Yeah, Heather Graham too. We didn't mention him in the talk about the movie, but we'll talk a little bit more. Brian Cox as Robert McKee,
Yes.
who is the script guru. Donald goes to see.
He does
his
these
seminar,
seminars, yeah,
and
3-day
he
seminars,
keeps
yeah.
on telling Charlie to go. Charlie gets to the point finally where he concedes and goes, and has a good conversation with him. He's obviously the first filmed Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter, 1986, and he's also known as the commandant or whatever from Super Troopers. And boys get all antsy
Yeah.
when they drink the maple syrup.
I liked him in Big Fish as
Big
well.
Fish, he's-
I thought he was good in the X-Men movie.
That's right.
he's
He
in so
played
much.
Striker. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is omnipresent.
Yeah.
He's
been around for years.
Yep.
Years.
Yes.
You could see him in 70s movies when you're like, is that Brian Dennehy? Oh no, it's Brian Cox.
he's the British.
Yeah, right.
He's the British Brian Dennehy.
That's right.
He has a great scene. He has a great moment in this movie when Charlie goes to see his screenwriting seminar, and Charlie gets up and makes a comment about, well, how do I write this whole thing? And, especially, what is the
He
comment
says,
he makes?
I want to make a movie that's more like real life, where nothing happens,
Yeah.
no one changes,
His response
whatever.
to that
Yeah.
about
It's pretty good.
real life is
Yeah.
fantastic, where he basically goes on.
The fact that he just starts by saying, and I'm paraphrasing, he's like, there are people who spend years full of effort trying to completely upend and destroy other people.
Right.
And then he just goes on this
Right.
rant
Yeah.
about love and loss.
Children
and,
watching
the-
mothers getting killed on the steps of church. This is all
Right,
happening
yeah.
right now. And you're saying that nothing happens in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love when he goes to meet him in the street. He goes, I'm the guy you shouted at. And
Yeah.
He goes,
You're
I
gonna
need
have-
more.
I need more.
I need more.
Yeah, because this is what he does all day long, probably with these people. I do want to get into a little bit of we talk about this on every episode. a little bit of the business aspect of the opening weekend. So what came out the same weekend as Adaptation, and how did it do? I picked the top 10.
What month was it released?
I'm using, okay, so...
Are you going February or are you going
I'm going
December?
December.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going
That's
December.
right.
Okay.
All right. So it was December originally
Of limited
release, and then
Right.
full
Then
release
full release February.
on
Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So,
That's right. I'm sure they probably take your girl to see Nicolas Cage playing these twins. And I was like, oh, honey, want to go see that? By the end of this movie.
No, here's the best part. It's like, because he was still technically around that time, sort of the sexy man guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, honey,
this
honey, honey, do you want to go see? Look, honey, it's a movie with Meryl Streep, so there's going to be smarts in it, and there's Nicolas Cage, so there's going to be, okay, we'll go.
Two
honey.
Nicolas Cages.
Right, 2 Nicolas Cages. Oh, wow. And so it's smart, and there's double the Nicolas Cage. Flick my bean, I'm there, And then they go, and no. And then they go, and Valentine's, no.
Judy Greer's tits. You get Cage doing masturbation.
Cage
under the
shirtless and sweaty, but 50 pounds overweight or whatever it is.
What was his? You probably know the quote better than me. When they're at the party and Charlie says to Donald, "Let's go,"
And he goes, "Oh no, I'm going to go home with her. I'm going to."
What is it? What does
He
he
just
say?
goes, "Oh, we're going to do some pushing."
Yeah, some pushing,
something like
some
that. Yeah,
pushing.
some pushing.
Bush pushing.
Yeah,
Bush pushing.
bush
That's what it
pushing.
is. Yeah, that was to me.
You're so funny.
I was gonna say that to me. Out of all of it, was either it was like the most unrealistic thing because if he was like successful, you could say, oh yeah, some vapid girl would put up with that shit because he's got money or fame or something, right? He's not. So he's ugly. He's sweaty. He's fat.
Yeah.
He's fucking poor. He lives in his brother's apartment.
he
he has
uses
no
him.
job. He's got nothing.
Perfect example.
And here's this sexy girl and just going, oh, you cad.
Yeah.
Oh, you. And it's like, oh, fucking fat, balding, half thin-haired Jew-fro, unemployed, living at his brother's house, fucking
Laying on the
40-year-old.
floor constantly.
Right,
Yeah.
40-year-old is dry humping the
Yeah,
air in front of your friends, and you're just like, oh, pish-tosh, oh, pish-tosh.
And I love the fact like when Charlie's in New York stalking Meryl Streep's character, and he calls home, and his brother's going over the script with the girlfriend and Catherine Keener.
Yeah.
And he's like, Catherine Keener's in my home?
Yeah.
yeah, she won't even look at me on set.
It's just...
But it is about what does that show about personality too, though?
Yeah, that's a great scene in the beginning when he's on the set of the movie he wrote and everybody's treating him like you can't be
He
here
doesn't.
right now.
Yeah, you have to be
Get
off
the
the
Like
set.
you're just have to be off the set, and he's like, he sees who was it? Was it Catherine Keener or John Cusack? Looks like they're looking at him.
Yeah, he waved at Cusack,
He
who was
waved,
looking at him. He
yeah,
just walks right
walks
by him,
into
and
the
Keener
little-
runs by him.
Keener runs by. Oh, and then it's Gyllenhaal when he thinks she's coming to him, and then
it's
she's
his
just
brother.
like she runs
Yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Before we get into this real quick, I want to ask you a question, and
Sure.
maybe and John too.
Maybe.
You guys have both seen this. You guys have both seen this movie before.
Yes.
Was there ever a point that you thought that the Donald character was not a real person
Do you mean in the movie or at all?
in the
Like,
movie?
really?
I know he's not a real person,
Right.
except for Maggie Gyllenhaal talking to him.
Yeah.
There's no scene he shares other than the
With
end,
anyone else?
With anyone else except for the end. At the end, when when they're in the car together, he runs out of the car and Susan Orlean notices and says, she says something to John LaRoche.
He hits her with the door though.
Right, hits her with the door, and she's like, so she knows that there's this. I'm not saying he's not.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
was
yeah.
there ever a point where you were watching it going, is this one guy and this is his id? This is all of his positive
Right.
stuff, and he's interacting with it? Because that's where I was going for the first, I'd say, 40 minutes of this movie is, this is going to turn out to be, there's only Charlie Kaufman. This is a narrator Tyler Durden thing. Say narrator's the reserved dude.
Yep.
Tyler Durden is the
God help you if you use narration.
voiceover. Voiceover.
No,
narration.
he still is. It's weird the way that they treat him is that he is, because you would think that he'd be afterwards still very broken up, especially when talking to the girl, his friend.
He seemed at the end of
and
the movie
stuff.
where he tells her that Donald dies.
He's like, I'm okay.
He's
but
like, okay.
I miss him.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many fucking is it? It feels like it may not be true,
I
but
guess-
it feels
I
like
guess
it's
my
a day
question
later,
is-
and I'm like,
My question would be then, John, do you think at the end of this movie that Donald was a real person in this movie? Okay.
And here's the thing, though. I mean, the first time I watched it, I vaguely recall wondering that, but the movie was so goddamn weird the first time I watched. When I got to the end of it and saw Kaufman's name attached to it as being the actual scriptwriter, I went and was like, "What the hell is this?"
Well, not just his name.
It was Ann Donald.
It's Ann Donald.
Right.
When this movie was nominated for things, it was nominated
Charlie
and Donald.
Yeah.
And the other part that
But
I
if you
loved
look
about it,
online now, there's none of that shit.
did they take it all away now?
Well, if I look, I went to IMDb to look up all the awards it was up for.
Right.
Never once is Donald mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now IMDb might be just doing a little post,
They've been editing
revisionist
a lot,
history,
so, yeah.
kind of thing.
Jim
but
Beaver.
Yeah.
There's Jim Beaver getting all trigger happy.
I don't know if it's him so much. I wonder about that because I've been hearing a lot about things that have been edited out at IMDb.
When I do my research for these movie shows we're doing in particular,
You have to go
I do everything on IMDb because I know Wikipedia
you have to go back and forth between multiple sites to get any kind of.
I've done Box Office Mojo. I've done IMDb,
yeah.
but I stay away from Wikipedia because I know that it would kill me if IMDb becomes like that.
Right,
Because this really does help a lot.
Yeah. But so to answer your question, I didn't think it at the time, but then when I went home and I found out that there was no Donald, I thought that he just had a real brother, and he, went outward, really went out,
and all that.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that, but then I heard, oh no, there's no Donald at all, and then I went, oh, that's his inner thoughts that he was probably alone in that apartment, or he was alone at a party, and he wishes he could do that, wished he could do that, and he manifested itself into a character, which is exactly the way that you can get away with it all being one person.
Yeah,
as multiple
the three
personalities.
Back to the
back
Donald
to the
Kaufman
three.
Yeah.
And I thought, we could eye roll now, but he got away with it to the point where when we first where I first saw it, we didn't think it was a different character. We walked out of there thinking, all right, it was fucking weird or whatever, but it wasn't. Oh, that Donald didn't exist. We didn't think
in all honesty,
and I don't think that at this point, for story purposes, I think he's a real person. Now, as far as his feelings at the end of the movie or lack thereof, I just think he's damaged in some way where he cannot connect to certain things,
and it could be an amount of time that has passed. We don't know.
We
how
have
much
no
time.
idea.
So I mean, if
you notice he had the
nutsack
nutsack to plant the kiss on the girl, which is kind of like Donald's dead, so a little bit of him he took.
I agree with that.
I'm just saying he wouldn't have done it.
No,
before,
I know.
Which again, by the way, goes towards the I don't want anybody to change, but that's exactly what happened.
All right. Well, I guess the Donald thing, just to me, if there wasn't the Maggie Gyllenhaal character,
there's a scene
you could
in there.
very much say that there was a possibility that this was in his head.
There's a scene in there where they're at the party and the girl that Charlie's interested in brings the new boyfriend. And meets all of them.
The cop from Jericho, by the way. Did you recognize
That's who he? Okay, all right.
He introduces his brother.
Yeah. And she actually hugs him too.
Oh, okay.
So there's that whole scene there. That's
all right.
That kind of blows everything out of the water once you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
It just.
And I think.
I mean, that's where if in fact he's just supposed to be this figment of his imagination, they failed.
It isn't for it isn't for the story. Right. I just in the principled idea, like all the bad ideas, quote unquote. Let's say the Donald part of his attitude was feeding him while he's trying to struggle through this story. Right. And then he finally figures out a way how to do the things that are bad ideas in a way that make it not a bad idea.
No, they're bad.
Well, whether you like the execution or not, I don't think there was anything wrong with having a twin brother that was just opposite and you learn from each other.
Oh, no.
So that was
probably one of the least amount of things that I had a problem with.
I actually really like the Fuck, I lost my train of thought on that. So I'm just going to skip over that.
Who was it about?
Was
it about Jim Beaver?
No. Shit. That never happens to me on the show, and it happened. I'm going to leave it in there. Anyways, let me go over...
Oh, yeah, the money.
Let me go over real quick.
Show me the money!
The box office, and then we'll go over the Oscar stuff, too, because there was some Oscar stuff. Yes. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I really like the fact that if you watch the cast credits, Nicolas Cage is in there about...
Twice.
Five times apart, twice.
Yep.
Playing two roles. It wasn't like they did Charlie and...
No, they did it
as two separate roles.
Order of appearance.
Order of appearance, yeah. Yep. All right, so December 6th, 2002, the weekend, at the end of that weekend, here's 1 through 10. I can tell you right now, Adaptation was not in the top 10.
I was going to say, is it fair to say with the limited release, though?
But I went and I checked out their actual release, and it was still very high. So I'm just going to go with
Okay.
what movies came out the week of. First movie, number one in that position, it had been out for 3 weeks. It had made $12.8 million that weekend. The James Bond movie, Die Another Day. Number two, $11 million. It opened that weekend. The shitty sequel to a really funny movie. Analyze That. The Billy Crystal, Robert De Niro one. Analyze This was funny as shit. This was let's not, we shouldn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Number three, it had been out for 4 weeks. It made $10 million. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I think was the second one. Number four, it opened that week, $6.2 million. I don't know what this is. It's called Empire. Anybody? Empire? Yeah, I think
there's a television show called Empire now. I know of Empire Records. I know of The Empire Strikes Back. I know.
Yeah, this is not any of those.
Yeah.
I might have seen it.
Number five, $5.5 million out for 2 weeks. Treasure Planet, Disney's Treasure Planet. That was one of the last Disney animated movies as well. Number six, $5.3 million. It had been out for 6 weeks, which is crazy. This movie was out for 6 weeks on December 8th of 2002. The Santa Claus 2, which came out in mid-October. Number seven, 2 weeks had been out at this point. $4.8 million. The Adam Sandler holiday feature. I think nobody remembers.
The Happy Hanukkah.
Crazy Nights.
Yes.
Number eight.
Animated.
Yeah, 3 weeks at this point. $2.8 million. Friday After Next. So not next Friday. This is the third one.
Oh my god.
Number 9. Speaking of Curtis Hanson.
I think I saw that.
Number 9. Speaking of Curtis Hanson, $2.5 million, 5 weeks. Yet again, Jerry's mom's spaghetti, 8 Mile. And number 10.
Pescetti.
Number 10, 8 weeks, $2.5 million, The Ring. Adaptation came in at an open, $384,000 at 22nd place. Yeah, I understand it's not fair, but I looked at their opening week as well.
Yeah.
And at that point, it had said, I wanted to go with fresh.
No, I understand.
It said, out for 14 weeks, and even at that point,
here's what we need to stress. Empire starred John Leguizamo, Peter Sarsgaard, and Denise Richards, and blew that movie out of the water.
Wow. And Peter Sarsgaard is married to
Denise Richards.
Whoa.
Yes.
Does anybody know? Peter Sarsgaard?
Maggie Gyllenhaal?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
2 creepy people.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I defy you.
No, you're right.
She wasn't creepy in
Say secretary, motherfucker.
no, not secretary. Secretary was odd. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was
the
so
one
odd.
we just brought up earlier. The one with
Stranger Than Fiction.
Thank you.
Where she's the
Oh,
big-
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she wasn't creepy in that. Taxman.
In Dark Knight, he really does tell the Joker to let her go when he's holding her out the window.
Yeah.
And Joker's like, poor choice of word or whatever. It's like, that really was stupid, Batman. And if you go back to that movie, I just want to mention this
I
real
don't
quick.
want to go back to that movie.
Just real quick.
Oh, another one you didn't like, John?
I didn't like the end of that movie.
I agree. The ending is not as strong as the rest of the
ruined
movie.
the entire movie for me.
Didn't do that for me, but I agree the ending's not that strong. So the Joker goes into the high rise. He starts fucking with people. Let me tell you about the scars.
Yeah.
He throws her out the window.
Did you ever notice that in spite of all his stories about the scars, it's Maggie Gyllenhaal's face, it looks like?
Ouch.
Look at her face and lip crease lines when she pseudo smiles and
Sad turtle.
smirks. Yeah, dude. I'm saying she's the one with the.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
Yes, from her.
Well, what I wanted to point out about that scene is
She was the Joker the whole time. Heath Ledger died in the first scene.
he throws her out of the window.
Quinn.
Batman jumps out of the window to save her.
Yes.
And then the next scene just transitions to like the next day or something. They never address the Joker still in this high rise with all these society people.
Yeah, he could have completely
He's
murdered
probably
them all.
murdering
yeah.
them all. And
Yeah.
watch the movie, and it's just like
Yeah, he doesn't go back to
He never
clear
goes
them
back.
out.
He never goes back. Yeah.
So by the time, so they're on the ground, or they're on the top of the car. They fall in the
fall in the
cab
car.
or whatever.
She makes a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
She makes a joke about let's not do that again. And then it's literally just the next day or watch the movie.
Yeah, because he doesn't run away or anything like that.
There's no scene of them, next to each other and he's pulling his boots on or anything like that.
No, there should have just been a scene where they go back up and you see the Joker. The Joker just tells his guys, "Let's go," and that would have been a
bat Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, he didn't. I mean, why would they go except? I guess the only thing you could think of is, well, if the only reason why he's there is to fuck with Batman, well, Batman just flew out the window. So what else is there?
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
Well, he was looking for Harvey Dent.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. And so there is no Harvey Dent, and then
Yeah. There's also this is just a quick aside. before we get into the box office stuff for Adaptation. But speaking of The Dark Knight,
God.
there's also I read an interview recently with Michael Jai White. His scene as Gamble, the leader of the gang. When the Joker kills him, he's got the knife in his mouth, and the music gets real crescendos, and they show his guys looking and turning away.
Yes,
but you never see the body. Michael Jai White.
Well, he just has him, and then he drops him on the floor.
Right, but you never see him kill him. Michael Jai White filmed more scenes for the movie
with a fucked up face.
No, he was never. I think they said there was a prosthetic or something, but he said he was supposed to be in more of the movie.
Yeah,
he was never told his character died at that point. They must have changed it for some reason, because he said when he went to the premiere, that was it.
And it was like a 2-second scene.
He was dead, and it was never meant to be his death scene.
Huh.
I think he was supposed to have the Glasgow scars, but he filmed more for the movie.
Yeah.
So I just always thought that was weird.
That's interesting.
Because it is a weird scene when he kills him, because it's they don't really show much of anything.
If you bleed out, I suppose, if you just leave him there. But otherwise, cutting someone's mouth like that, I mean, you're fucked up, but people have probably worse injuries from a car crash.
Sorry, John. Sorry about the Dark Knight talk.
Okay.
All right, we'll finish up with the Oscar stuff. So this was the second Oscar nomination for Best Actor for Nicolas Cage.
The other was?
The other was Leaving Las Vegas in 97, which he won for. He did not win for this one.
No, he did not.
Here's who he ran up against, and I'll tell you who won. Number 5 was Michael Caine for The Quiet American, movie I've never seen. Number 4, Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, another movie I've never seen.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I've got to check that out, because I keep hearing how good it was. What?
The Quiet American?
Starring a Brit. All right.
Yeah, Michael Caine, The Quiet American. Number 3, Jack Nicholson, About Schmidt.
About Schmidt.
I don't know if I saw that. Number 2, Nicolas Cage,
About
Adaptation.
Schmidt is another adapted from a novel.
It's another great titty movie.
Isn't that the one where Kathy Bates?
Kathy Bates, yeah.
Yeah, Kathy Bates' ass, her tits, and then you get a big old chunk of hairy, fat Jack Nicholson's butt crack too.
Yes,
so
yeah. And the one thing
floating in a hot tub.
There's one scene in the beginning that I took away from that that I could still see now. It's about, he's talking about how he's aging, because he's about to retire and stuff.
I mean,
and so he's going through like body parts of both he and his wife at the time, and they're really focused. The camera's ultra focused on him, and he was like, the varicose veins in my ankles and shit. And I remember after like a certain age, I just started looking for those, and every morning when I put my socks on, I do the same. I'm like, I'm fucking dying, dude. And it's weird, how you just can't forget it. Like I still see it right now. It's not the Kathy Bates scene that I remember. I remember liking the movie enough and all that, but I said enough. I mean, it has a guy with a.
John, people like things, right?
It has a guy.
No one liked that movie. It tanked so bad.
I saw it in the
got
movie.
An Oscar nomination.
I saw it in the movie
so
theater.
did Suicide Squad.
Well, not for the acting.
All right.
Not for the acting.
Well,
you saw a lot in the movie theater, but you worked in the movie theater, right?
My brother did.
Okay, all right, that explains.
So at the time, I could, well, that and I worked, and I didn't pay rent for my parents or anything, so I was making like, you have to understand, like, say this was, 1998 to whatever year money, right? And I was making as like a, 2002, I was 20, 21, somewhere in there. I mean, whatever job I was doing, I was like making $11, $12 an hour. People would do that now. That was 18 years ago.
You were rolling in the
it is.
PlayStation 2 games, weren't you?
No, well, I didn't spend anything. I just went to the movies. I would just go there by myself. I just would go, oh, well, I don't care about anything. I'll just go at night, after work every day. I would fucking go. And then half the time it's free. Who cares?
When I used to go to the movies a lot, I'd go to the movies by myself all the time.
Yeah.
Because I have my job, I have weekdays off. Well, no, because I have weekdays off.
Yes.
And my friends are working or not around. And when I was first dating my wife was like, go by yourself. Isn't that weird? I'm like, go to a movie on a Wednesday by yourself.
It's wonderful.
It's just all single people at the movies by themselves because...
Yeah. If you avoid the old people,
Yeah.
Or when it's like for some reason the kids are out of school,
What is that noise?
That's when
That's
someone's
them wheezing.
someone sitting right behind you, and
Yeah.
and you're trying to listen to the movie, and they're just going.
Yeah, don't turn around if you hear that noise. By the way.
Yeah, like here's the thing: you have to be smart when you go to the movies like that. Like for example, don't go on a Wednesday in the afternoon to go see, say, for example, like a Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
I went and saw that one with that Woody Allen movie with Kate Blanchett. The oh god, fuck. She had like a multiple personality disorder or something like that. I can't remember. It was her, Alec Baldwin, Louis, Peter Sarsgaard,
The one he did.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, man. No, I can't remember the name of
Fuck,
that
I can't remember the name of it. But I went to go see that, and not only were they having construction done right outside of the theater on the outside, so you just kept hearing the entire time, like boom, 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 and you're like watching a Woody Allen movie, but you can't. It's not like there's this. Pacific Rim, like, and it's fine, and it elevates it or something because your seat's really rattling. No. It's like,
It's all quiet conversation.
Yeah, it's like Kate Blanchett. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm divorcing my husband, and I have no money now.
The sound of the Sawzall going fucking buck wild.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then there's all these old ladies, just going, what'd she say? I don't remember this. What? Blue Holiday? Blue.
Oh yeah. Okay, Blue Holiday.
No, Blue. It was the gem. Blue. Fuck. It was Blue something. It's a gem. All
right, I'm going to read off the rest of these Oscars. Why don't you go ahead and check it out?
Not Blue Sapphire.
Oh, I don't want to leave everybody hanging, so we'll bring that up. So the winner that year for Best Actor, and this is probably the last we've ever heard of this guy, the pianist, Adrian Brody.
The pianist.
And that was the year that, remember, he grabbed Halle Berry and kissed her, and it caused a lot of issues. Imagine today if he did that.
What do you mean the last we've heard of him?
Adrian Brody?
Come on. What was that? When was Predators out?
Like 8 years ago. And I like Predators. That was like 8 years ago.
He's in a TV show.
He was in the Wes Anderson movie after.
Oh, really?
Which one?
The Darjeeling Limited.
I truly don't
That's the only one I haven't seen yet.
Don't.
I truly.
Oh no! Wait, I hated it, so you'll probably love it.
I have to see it at some point, but I don't like the lead in that. Either,
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, he's kind of a
son of. Do you know who he's the son of?
A preacher man.
What'd you say?
A Schwartzman?
No, Talia Shire. He's in the Francis Ford Coppola family. So
is Nicolas Cage.
And Nicolas Cage.
Bringing it back around.
Yeah, that's right. Meryl Streep was nominated for a Best Supporting Actress. She did
Blue
not win.
Jasmine, by the way. Blue Jasmine.
Okay, there we go. Woody Allen, Blue Jasmine.
Yeah,
and Chris Cooper won Best Supporting Actor, and he deservedly won for this movie.
Adaptation.
Here's who we competed against.
All right, thank you.
Ed Harris, and Best Supporting nomination for The Hours, which I never saw.
Oh my God, dude.
Did it take hours to finish?
It's a depressing as fuck movie.
Okay.
I'm sure I've seen that.
Paul Newman, one of his last roles ever.
She plays that famous writer lady.
Right. With the nose, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I can't fucking remember who, but anyway, it's that one.
Ed Harris, The Hours. Paul Newman, one of his last roles, Road to Perdition.
I like that movie.
That's a great movie. John C. Reilly in Chicago, and Christopher Walken for his role in Catch Me If You Can.
If you can.
If you can. If not, whatever.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, that's I know you hate
DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, it is
Spielberg, right?
Spielberg, yeah.
Never saw it.
Tom Hanks. It's actually a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good movie.
Whoops.
All right, so here's the part.
I'll watch The Transporter 3 before I watch that.
I'm going to transport you somewhere real good. I promise you that.
I've got 3 rules.
I've got three rules. Number 1, don't touch your car. Number 2, see number 1. Number 3, I'm going to get shirtless and fight somebody at some point.
Number 4. I forgot what number 3 was.
Number 3. Number 4's oh, Jesus. Christ almighty.
I'm transporting
you. Hey, the first one.
This is really transporting.
Transporting across the USA.
Is that Fred Schneider from the B-52s? Wow. That would have really made the first Transporter a much different movie is if the theme song was the B-52s. It's like, you got this like kind of like, it's not a serious movie, but, Jason Statham. And
he comes around and around and around and around. It's the transporter, he's putting you in his car that goes so fast now.
Oh boy, he's in a barrel of oil.
Wow.
There's a scene where
Yeah,
have you seen the first Transporter is actually a really good movie. The second one is right off the road. No, it's for a dumb action movie. It's really fun.
For a dumb, mindless action.
I love the
it's
scene
watchable.
where he goes to find the girl and he knocks on the door and the guy looks out the peephole and then all you see is Jason Statham doing like a fucking running roundhouse kick and he kicks the door in on the guy and he's like, no. God. All right. So
Who's there? The Meg.
So much focus
really.
on adaptation.
We
tonight.
focus on adaptation. We talked about it.
Yeah.
You don't agree? We talked about it quite a bit.
I think that we did.
Are we?
Yeah.
But it's also a conversation with me.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't stay. It doesn't say where it's supposed
It's
to.
our show, so it's very meandering.
Yeah.
I think we covered the show pretty well, the movie pretty well. I think. We
Yeah, I
talked
mean,
about-
unless I didn't expect that we were supposed to go step by step.
no, we have not done that yet on any of these so far.
Yeah.
But we have done this on every one.
Are we ranking it?
Everyone we're going to do this. So
Rank.
scale
Okay.
of 1 to 5. We'll just say 1 is an absolute terrible movie. 5 is fantastic. You love it. You want to marry it. And you could do half scales.
Okay.
Up to 5. We'll start with John. We'll get the press right after that. John, what would you give Adaptation
1.
on a scale of 1 to 5? 1, really?
Yeah. It's just so absolutely dreary, boring to me, and I don't like movies where the main character is the writer that's inserted himself into the product. I really don't dig those kind of things, and it's just the whole thing. Honestly, I dreaded watching it again, and by the time I was halfway through this movie, I was like, oh god, at least Chris Cooper's here. And then we get to the action scenes, and I'm like, what just happened? I don't remember any of this. This is so stupid.
All right, Jerry. You suggested the movie, so I'll have you go last.
Basically, I'm saying I cannot recommend this to anybody.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying, I've got a list of movies we still have to go through with people, and if this is a 1, I'm afraid of how you're going to feel with a couple of the ones that people have called out.
What, you mean like Lava Boy and Shark Girl?
Yeah.
Oh, we know where we're going with that one.
Evan, our Boy Scout buddy.
Oh,
he
nice.
recorded with us at BingCon. He was hanging out with us at BingCon, and we invited him on. He picked The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
That's awesome.
And I can only imagine this is, and even he's like, it's a shitty movie.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So yeah,
He's
all right, so
torturing you.
That's going to be a
awesome.
lot of fun to, yeah.
All right, John gives it a 1. I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and give this a solid 3.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's something I'd go back to a ton, but I did enjoy it. I did not dread it like John, but I was definitely kind of on the fence of not looking forward to it. And the other part I wanted to point out was I think we have about 14 of these movie shows lined up for however long we're going to do it for.
Yeah.
This was one of the 2 that I haven't seen, or 3.
Okay.
So it was
Good.
kind of cool because everything else I'm going to have an opinion on before, and then I'm going to, I'm going to rewatch it to talk about.
Yeah.
The movie John picked, I haven't seen. The movie John's buddy Anthony picked.
What did you
I haven't
pick,
seen.
John?
Oh, we can. Let's not even get into
Oh,
it. We'll get
okay.
We'll
Sorry,
get into
sorry.
this
I'll ask you off
air.
air. Sorry.
We'll get into this off air because that's a
Sorry,
long
sorry.
one.
Okay.
So Jerry, what do you give it?
Why, you want
Yeah.
to watch it with us?
Well, it depends. Especially if I know I won't like it. I'd love to. No. So I would say 3.5. I don't think it's. When I first watched it, I was like, wow, man, I really like this, the different layers of things. I thought that the way that it was, he inserted himself by adding like the weird, it's a Kaufman movie.
Right.
It's not just one of those flowery fucking usually period pieces where someone's inevitably at a typewriter and shit. There is a little bit of that, but he's this neurotic person who can't get out. I related a lot to that. People think like, oh yeah, he's does comedy and he's been in bands and he won't shut the fuck up. Yeah, well, that's one aspect. The other 90%, I'm just not. And so I think at the time, I'm more like
You relate to the Charlie Kaufman character.
yeah, yeah. When I'm on some like bipolar high, sure, Donald,
Right.
yeah, sure, but no. 90% of the time, it's that.
Where are you
it's
right
Charlie
now?
Kaufman.
Where are you falling in right now?
Donald, I gotta go to sleep. Yeah, it's had a long day, Donald.
yeah. I want to go jerk off to Meryl Streep. That's where I'm about at. No, so I mean, the devil wears Prada. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was fucking great. I hadn't seen anything like it when I was at that age, and I don't know that it's aged as well because now I could see things, kind of critique it. The ending isn't as seamless as I thought it was.
Right, and you're older.
Yeah.
It's not just that it aged, you aged too.
Yeah, exactly.
You
right.
know?
So whichever one of us didn't age well, or both, whatever. Yeah. So I think it's a 3.5. I probably used to have it as like a 4.5. Like, I've never fucking seen anything like this, and it's a dual character, but it's not even a real character. And how did he create that? And it was both the mysticism of it plus the reality, and that was this fucking movie, And now the shine's come off a little bit for whatever reason. So I'd say 3.5 because for those who like the things that we're describing, aka not John, it's a twist on certain themes that might make for a more mundane movie, or maybe it'd be more of a stylistic movie, like you say, like a drama or a crime thriller or a up their own ass writers.
This is
movie.
not an easily categorizable movie,
right? Yeah, and that's what I like about it.
Right. I want to point out that you and your brother. So we did at this point the Andrew show we did. Your brother Andrew Morgan,
yes,
who we invited on, and who actually was the first person we recorded with.
Mm-hmm.
He picked Memento, and I've got to say, you and Andrew picked movies that were like. In the first 4 that we've recorded, just not easy to talk about. Like Memento, because of the Memento's a pretty simple story,
sure,
but because of the way it's told,
right,
it's kind of hard to kind of talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie being a movie that is
it's
folds in on itself so many times, and it's so many layers.
Yeah.
So I want to say I appreciate that too, because we've done other ones that were more straightforward. There were still fun shows to do, but like there's a lot more layers to these ones.
Well, like if you were to look, I think a few times different people asked me on, like as a Facebook thing, do one film a day for 10 days or something. And I was like, fuck, I can't even start to think about, because it's inevitably I start panicking about ones that I'm going to forget,
right,
and all that. So I put down like The Naked Gun, and then I don't think I ever did it again.
No, that was me, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. My brother did it after.
Yeah.
Like, I think I did it, so I only did the one, and then my brother...
Oh, took over?
Well, no, my brother didn't realize I ever did it and tagged me for his, and I just never did it, because that's how good I am at those things. But no, I inevitably just think of like, oh, what ones am I going to not remember? And so I panicked and just didn't. I could have put like Naked Gun. I love that fucking movie. Or South Park, like I just said. Or, a lot of ones that are a little bit easier, but I said, I want to think back to like, a movie where it really was like kind of a first for me.
Right.
And that was it.
I appreciate it. I like doing, I enjoy doing these series of shows. And, we talked about Blade for almost 2 hours. And it was, I thought...
Talk about a movie that does not age well.
But one way or another, we were able to talk about it for 2 hours.
What did you? Was it mostly the tax evasion, or?
Did you see what he has to pay now?
Oh, is he in trouble again?
The IRS actually came and gave him a number. Apparently.
Oh, geez.
It's probably more than he's made in movies for the last 10 years.
Yeah, he's got to start doing a Nicolas Cage.
I was going to say the Expendables 3 didn't cover it. All right, this has been Pint of Comics Movie Invitational Series. Jerry, do you want to give everybody out there where they could find Fistful of Jokes and all of your good stuff?
Yeah, go, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher,
Don't you
Spotify.
say iTunes, motherfucker.
I know, I had to catch myself.
Don't you say iTunes, they changed the name.
They'll come take your fucking show
They
down.
will. Done.
Yeah, so you could just search for Fistful of Jokes podcast, our YouTube channel. That's where it starts. A lot of times we're doing live streams on there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Fistful of Jokes, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jerry Isn't Funny with a J. Jerry Isn't Funny. I never mentioned that that's a J.
Yeah, not a G. He's not one of those Jerrys.
No. Do you want to?
Derp Derpelson.
Yeah. Do you want to know the story behind the J though?
What your parents named you?
Yeah. But it's quick. I promise. So.
I promise.
Gerald,
this is a long story.
Yeah. No, Gerald is normally, a lot of times it's Gerald with a G that turns into Jerry with a J.
Okay.
Apparently that's a thing. At some point, like, first of all, I have relatives that they still send me birthday cards or whatever with the G, as if they just never fucking knew. Even though they, like, in the age of Facebook where they're liking my picture, this or that, and they see my fucking name every day. No, can't remember. Anyway, so I said one day, I asked my mom, and I said, why the J? Why the Gerald with a J? What the fuck? Why am I different? I met a guy, Gerald with a G, and it actually turned out to be the son of a girlfriend that she had in high school, like a friend in high school that she had, and it was this weird, convoluted way of reattaching, and it was crazy. But I said, why Gerald with a J? She said, oh, well, your father and I just said, he's not going to understand that. So let's just make it J both ways. I said, so you named me because you thought I'd be fucking stupid. Yeah. And she said, well, that's one way of looking at it.
Does this sound like a Charlie Kaufman story?
It kind of does. My mother wanted to name me John Michael, and my father wanted to name me Michael John. And his simple reason was because he said it's male and shit's gonna get fucked up. Like he's like, I don't want to deal with two Johns like for 18 years. He's like, and it truly did.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times friends of mine would call and my dad gets on the phone. Yep. My mom answers, oh, it's John there. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Who is this?
Yeah.
Eric. I'm like, that's my
Hey, did you see
Eric.
the tits on the substitute?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did. Now let me go get your friend.
Yeah.
No, it's actually
Judy Greer, A or a B minus?
Hey, what would you say? Judy Greer, A, B.
But dude,
Who the hell is Judy Greer?
Yeah, I'm gonna go find out. And I'm hanging up this phone so I can get on the dial-up. Don't you dare call. So no, it's actually funny you mentioned that because I'm Gerald Michael. And I think my mom wanted Michael as my first name. My dad wanted Gerald. I was the first kid. She let him have it. And then my mom got to name my brother his first name. My dad got John.
Oh, there you go. What's Andrew's middle name?
John.
Oh, Andrew John. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Strong middle name. All right, speaking of John.
So between the two of us, we have one of you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Andrew John, Gerald Michael.
And John's middle name is Sir John Johnington Johnson. And Sir John, what do we say to the people when we go away from Pint of Comics?
Goodbye.
No, we don't say that.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
See ya.